Good afternoon, Tradescores market scan video for November 14th. All right, let's just sort of walk through how the market's been reacting to information related to inflation and interest rates. So the Fed announcement on interest rates was there, and we had this really strong bounce because the commentary out of that meeting was good for the prospect of either lower interest rates or interest rates not going up anymore. And then you had people doubting it. And that's quite often what happens when you've got a market in a downward trend. The market hit the downward trend line. There were some comments during some speeches by Jerome Powell saying, I don't count out our potential to raise rates. And so the market sort of got worried. Well, today inflation numbers came out, and those inflation numbers showed something good for the prospect that interest rates don't need to be raised anymore. You had a huge gap to the upside, and the market's managed to rally since then. And so now we have what I've been telling everyone to watch for, which is a break of this first downward trend line from a rising bottom. So this switches the market's momentum from downward on the daily time frame to upward on the daily time frame. Now we should still look at the 3-year weekly chart to get a sense of that, and I can draw a trend line across here and see that that trend line is broken. Now in the weekly time frame, there is no rising bottom, but still the daily time frame has that. And I think in the weeks and months ahead, the market's likely to move up towards that level of resistance, and perhaps the small caps will outperform the rest of the market, as I talked about in this past weekend's video. Now let's take a look at the chart of the bond market, and there you can also see the bond market gapped up today. It has already broken the parabolic downward trend. It still needs to break this longer term downward trend, and it's got some distance until it hits that. So it's likely the bond market will rally. That will be supportive for stocks. Once it gets up here, it'll probably get stuck, and then we'll have a little bit of reckoning. All right, well, with that in mind, let's now go and do our market scans in search of stocks that are making moves. One of the challenges on a day when the market makes a significant jump is in finding stocks that have alpha. Alpha stocks are those that are trading on their own story, and they move up with strong volume. When the market gaps up, like it did today, you'll get lots of stocks that move up, but they don't usually have abnormal volume. And so when we run this scan, we are always having to be careful that we're not buying something that's simply up because the market's up, but instead is up because the market or the stock is doing something good. So I didn't see any good charts on the Canadian market. So now we go to the US market and we see a big problem. 603 stocks get picked up by this scan today. And that's because there's a lot of stocks that are up abnormally. And so we're going to have to modify our scan a little bit. So we're running the abnormal break scan. And what you'll see when I highlight it, I've highlighted abnormal breaks, is you'll see the settings. So it's abnormal day up, breakout, but what it doesn't do is look for abnormal volume. So we're gonna add that in today to try to find the stocks that are truly up on strong volume. And we'll look for stocks under $20 so that, again, those small cap stocks that maybe have more alpha have a chance to shine through. All right, so now we only have 23, I think, to look through. So we can go through the charts and look for stocks that are making good pattern breaks. And the story, I've looked at lots of charts today. The story in general is we've got all these stocks moving up into a downward trend. So it's a sign that maybe the downward trend is over, and that's positive. That'll make us happy over the next weeks and months as we are able to finally find some position trades. It's the first step in the reversal. We're breaking the downward trend line. This stock's got a little break from a rising bottom with some volume, but there's going to be quite a bit of resistance here still. So I'll give that a 6 out of 10. Moving along, is there anything here good to look at? So far, I don't see much. And, again, even though the market's up a lot, it's hard to find those individual stocks that have a good chart, that are trading on their own story, rather than stocks that are just up because the market's up. All right, so good little lesson, positive sign that the market is turning, and we should get some position trading action in the weeks and months ahead now that we've started to reverse that downward momentum. So we'll keep looking. Hope you've enjoyed it, and trade well.